Hello YouTube. Calgary Real Estate has been setting records all across the board, but has it finally started to slow down? I'm going to highlight a few of the stats in today's video. If you want to see the full report, please click the link in the description, as all the information provided today is provided by the Calgary Real Estate Board. I will put all the links in the description below, so let's get into it. Hi, my name's Adam Fife and I'm a local realtor here in Calgary, Alberta. I try my absolute best to only provide value-driven content for both my viewers and my clients. If you're going to give me a few minutes of your day, you're going to get something out of it. So today we're going to discuss Calgary's current market position. But for the 80% of you who are not subscribed, please consider browsing the channel, as you may be surprised by the content that I create. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by reading this description. If you'd rather read it on your own, please pause the video and skip to the next chapter by scrolling along the timeline. Market continues to favor the seller despite slowing sales. City of Calgary, June 1st, 2022. For the second month in a row, sales activity trended down after all-time record high sales in March. While activity in the market slowed down in May with 3,071 sales, levels are still slightly higher than last year's record high and far stronger than typical levels of activity recorded in May. It's not a surprise to see sales ease from the exceptionally strong levels seen earlier in the year. Many buyers were eager to get into the market ahead of the rate gains that we are now seeing. While higher lending rates are weighing on sales activity, the market is still struggling with supply levels and rising prices, which could also be contributing to slower sales, especially in the detached market. Nonetheless, if this shift continues, we could begin to see more balanced conditions in the market over the next several months, slowing the pace of price growth in the market. Slower sales were met with a decline in new listings, but a strong pullback in sales was enough to cause inventories to trend up relative to levels seen over the past few months. While inventory remains well below historical norms, the monthly gains did take off some of the pressure in the market. However, with just under 2 months of supply, the market continues to favor the seller. Tight market conditions continue to contribute to further price gains in the market, but the pace of growth has eased relative to what occurred over the previous 4 months. Overall, the benchmark price reached $546,000 in May, over 14% higher than last year's levels. Benchmark home prices reflect a typical home to ensure price movements better reflect market activity. Over time, the typical home evolves, and the MLS Home Price Index also evolves to ensure the data remains in line with modern housing trends. As of today, the benchmark price was recalculated based on the modern typical home. Details on the model adjustments can be found on the Canadian Real Estate Association's website, and I have linked this below in the description. So let's start this thing off like usual by looking at the total residential sales and inventory for all of Calgary. Now, these graphs include all property types. It is pretty useful when looking back at previous years to see what this year's doing, but this month I'm more interested in what's happened over the past few months. And this chart right here, at a first glance, can be a bit to digest. Now, let's keep in mind that this is total residential, so all property types in all areas of Calgary. This is great to know what's happening on a macro level, but when it comes to your personal situation, you need to break it down into a micro level. Individual property types, quadrants, and even communities to get a better understanding of what the local picture looks like before you get into it. So let's see what's going on here with Calgary as a whole. Now, this is a snapshot of every month's stats from January to June, both this year and last year. There's a lot to unpack here, but I'll give you a highlight. And the first thing that we can see is that the benchmark price has been steadily rising since the beginning of the year, which is pretty easy to understand. You can see the jump from April to May was only $1,700 compared to the $14,500 jump we saw from February to March. So what that tells me is that rising interest rates work. We had our first interest rate increase of 0.25% on March 1st, with the Bank of Canada hinting at more rate hikes in the future. On April 12th, we had our second hike of 0.5%, which is pretty evident on this chart. We had another increase of 0.5% on May 31st, which will be interesting to see on next month's report in July. So how was that April 12th rate increase evident? Well, let's take a peek at total sales, new listings, and inventory. You can see sales peaked on March 31st with a steady decline ever since. This could be partially caused by the decrease in people's buying power and uncertainty of rising interest rates. Now, there are a million other factors that do go into play, and these are only 2 small pieces of the pie. We can see that new listings have fallen, while inventory has steadily increased as well. With a decrease in sales, an increase in inventory, and new listings slowing down, we should see some correction in the market to slightly shift into more balanced conditions. Now, sales and new listings are fairly self-explanatory, but inventory in CREB stats simply means the number of homes still for sale at the end of the month. So we can see there are more and more homes available at the end of the month as the year progresses. So the next question to that is, are there more detached homes, apartments, or townhouses for sale? I don't know. We have to look at these property types to get the full picture. Our market could be flooded with apartments and very few detached homes on the market. So getting the whole picture is very important. You can't just take this generalized stat and come to a conclusion without diving into it a little bit more. But by looking at this and watching these numbers, you can start to take a guess at what may happen in the coming months. So moving forward, this graph will help us break down which property types in each quadrant are currently in demand. Now, this will help showcase where the additional inventory could be getting stuck. Now, on average, over a quick glance, you can see that most property types are around 2 months of supply. That means if no more new listings were to come to the market and no more new buyers were to come to the market either, it would only take 2 months for every single home to sell. Anything under 2 months is considered a seller's market where prices may go up. Anything over 4 months considered to be a buyer's market where prices may come down. And anything between 3 and 4 months is considered to be fairly balanced conditions where prices may not go up or down. When we compare the months of supply from April to May, you can see that the months of supply increased all across the board. Each quadrant has slowed down a bit, but there is still a possibility for price increases in every quadrant minus the city center. Now, some communities in city center may still be hot, but as a whole, you can see months of supply are all getting closer to 2.5, 3 months. So moving right along, this is a fairly informative map of the 8 sections of Calgary. Now, I've just completed my series Touring Calgary via Google Maps, where I chatted about each quadrant individually. So make sure to check out my channel for those videos. Now, this is total residential benchmark prices for every quadrant. So detached, semi-detached, row, townhouses, apartments, all in one. When looking at this, you can see that the year-over-year percentages are still pretty high. Looking back at the past few months, you can see a slowdown happening, but year over year, we're still seeing some double-digit price growth. Here is another snapshot of total residential prices when compared to May of last year. Now, everyone knows prices are up. If you're looking for a home in 2022, this information can be useful, but diving deeper into the area and property type will provide you with the most amount of confidence and help create your home buying strategy. Make sure to talk to someone who understands that and is actually willing to take the time to explain the differences to you. Even though prices are up from last year, are you looking to jump into the market in 30 days or 120 days? That could make a very big difference on how you approach these stats. Now, I'm not going to read this one out, but if you are interested in a certain property type, you can pause the video and read what the Calgary Real Estate Board has to say about each. It's very important to get all the data before making any large real estate decision. Both buyers and sellers should utilize this data to their advantage. It is the key to success, especially in a market like this. Now finally, the microeconomic outlook for each property type in each quadrant. This type of information is useful when helping clients develop a better understanding of local activity. This, coupled with real-time comparative market analysis, is by far the most important thing that you could do when considering a purchase or putting your home up for sale. The strategies consistently change and shift every single month. What I was advising clients 2 months ago is starting to change now that the market is starting to change. Finding a professional who is willing to take the time, break down the numbers, and work with you on your behalf is very important. These numbers can be used in many different ways. I do predict that Calgary Real Estate is still going to be pretty busy all year long. Setting up a plan and working with someone towards the end goal well in advance is very important regardless of current conditions. Book a consultation, create a plan, gain some basic understanding of what to expect before placing an offer. If you have any questions or you want to come up with a game plan, I'm only a call or text away. I hope you got some value from this update, so please consider browsing my channel for other relatable content. I look forward to continuing this trend all throughout the year. So until next time, peace.